Chapter 1. The Abandoned Child. Your parents leave you at the temple during a snowstorm because they can no longer afford to feed you. They do not cry. People who spend too long surviving rarely have energy left for tears. Your mother avoids looking directly at you while your father speaks quietly with one of the monks near the gate. You stand in the snow holding a small cloth bag containing everything you own. The monk eventually turns toward you and asks a single question. "Can you work?" You say yes because hungry children always say yes. The temple is colder than you imagined. Ancient stone corridors, wet wooden floors, the smell of incense, smoke, and old cloth. Young monks pass you without speaking. Nobody welcomes you. Nobody explains anything. You sleep on a thin mat beside strangers. The temple bell wakes you before sunrise. Your hands crack from cold water and rough labor. You carry buckets heavier than your arms can manage. You sweep snow faster than it falls. Older trainees knock you down during practice and tell you to stand up again. You think about running away almost every night, but slowly, something changes. You begin waking before the bell. Your body adapts to the cold. Your movements become less clumsy. You stop feeling like a visitor and start feeling like part of the machinery of the temple itself. For the first time in your life, suffering has structure, and structure feels strangely close to purpose. Chapter 2. The Trainee. The temple does not care about your feelings, only repetition, again, again, again. Every morning begins in darkness, endless drills, endless chores, endless correction. The masters speak very little. When they do speak, it is usually because you failed at something. You learn discipline before confidence. You train until your legs shake. You meditate until your thoughts become unbearable. You carry water through snowstorms. You scrub floors beside boys who arrived here just as frightened as you were. Some disappear after a few weeks. Some break. Some simply stop waking up before the morning bell. The temple never slows down for them. You begin learning forms, stances, breathing, control. The older warriors move with impossible precision. You watch them the way starving people watch food. One day, a master corrects your stance instead of ignoring you. That small moment matters more than praise ever could. Years pass quietly inside routines so repetitive they almost erase your sense of time. Your hands harden, your posture changes, your instincts sharpen. The frightened child who entered the temple begins disappearing, and something else slowly takes his place. Chapter 3. The Warrior Monk. Training ends the moment responsibility begins. You leave the safety of practice courts and enter the real mountains beyond the temple walls. Night patrols, frozen roads, villages terrified of bandits, long winters where violence can appear without warning. You discover that being a warrior has very little to do with glory. Mostly it means exhaustion. There are nights during patrol when nobody speaks for hours, only the sound of boots crushing snow beneath freezing wind, lanterns swinging through darkness, every warrior lost inside his own thoughts. You learn that fear changes over time. When you are young, you fear pain. Later, you fear failure. But eventually, you fear losing the people standing beside you more than you fear death itself. The temple teaches discipline during training. The mountains teach it through survival. You begin understanding why older warriors seemed emotionally distant when you were younger. It was never cruelty. It was fatigue. Years of carrying responsibility without rest. Some nights you return from patrol too exhausted to sleep. Your body lies down, but your mind keeps replaying the sounds of combat. The screams, the impact of staffs against bone, the silence afterward. Nobody talks about those things openly. The temple teaches control, not confession, so the warriors carry their grief quietly, like another scar beneath the robe. You stand guard through blizzards while everyone else sleeps. You fight in darkness against men just as desperate as you are. You carry injured brothers back through storms and bury the ones who never return. The first death changes you. The 10th death hardens you. You stop speaking as much. Your body collects scars faster than memories. Younger trainees begin staring at you the same way you once stared at older warriors, and that realization frightens you more than combat ever did. After one brutal winter battle, rage begins growing inside you. You train violently through the night, trying to crush grief into discipline. The old master stops you himself. He tells you something you will never forget. A protector ruled by anger eventually becomes another threat. You begin understanding that strength alone is not enough. Real warriors control themselves first. That lesson changes the way you train. Before, you fought to become stronger than others. Now you train to remain calm when everyone around you loses control. You begin noticing how younger fighters watch you during stressful moments. Not just your combat skills, your reactions, your breathing, your composure. Leadership inside the temple begins long before titles are given. People simply start following the person who remains steady during chaos. And slowly, without fully realizing it, that person becomes you. Over time, the temple trusts you with more responsibility. You lead patrols, train younger fighters, resolve conflicts, protect villagers during storms. The other warriors stop seeing you as young. They start following your orders without hesitation. And one winter night, before the Elder Council, you are formally named a senior warrior of the temple. You expected pride. What you actually feel is pressure. Chapter 4. The Advanced Warrior Monk. Leadership does not arrive all at once. It arrives one responsibility at a time until your entire life belongs to other people. You train elite warriors before sunrise. You organize patrols, resolve disputes between younger monks, meet with elders during harsh winters when food runs low and villages need protection. The old master trusts you more each year, which means he speaks to you more honestly. You notice his cough becoming worse, his steps becoming slower, his hands trembling slightly when he thinks nobody is looking. The temple notices too. Nobody speaks about it openly. The older you become, the more you understand that leadership inside the temple is not power. It is endurance. The strange thing about responsibility is how gradually it consumes your life. One day you are only helping. The next day, people cannot function without you. You stop measuring time through seasons and start measuring it through problems solved. Failed harvests, injured warriors, winter shortages, temple repairs after storms. The work never truly ends. The older masters seem calm, not because leadership is easy, but because exhaustion eventually becomes familiar. You understand that now. Some nights you walk through the empty temple corridors long after everyone has gone to sleep. Weak lantern light flickers against ancient wood while snow drifts through open archways. The temple feels different at night, older, heavier, almost alive. And during those silent walks, you begin realizing that every master before you probably carried the same loneliness. You sleep less, eat quickly, carry everyone else's fears while pretending your own do not exist. The younger monks bow when you pass. Villagers ask for you by name. Warriors wait for your decisions before acting. Without realizing it, you have already become the backbone of the temple. The old master begins teaching you things beyond combat. History, philosophy, failure, regret. One night he admits something you never expected to hear. Even masters are afraid. That confession changes your understanding of the old master forever. As a child, you believed masters were beyond fear. As a trainee, you believed they were beyond weakness. As a warrior, you believed they were beyond doubt. Now you finally understand the truth. Wisdom is not the absence of fear. It is continuing despite it. The old master was never fearless. He was simply willing to carry fear without allowing it to control him. And someday, you realize, the temple will expect the same from you. Eventually the winter arrives when the old master can no longer hide his weakness. You support him during ceremonies, help him climb temple stairs, stand guard outside his chamber during endless snowy nights, and finally, beside a single candle during a violent storm, he gives you his last lesson. The temple does not belong to one man. It survives only because each generation sacrifices itself for the next. Not long after, the old master dies peacefully inside his chamber. The entire temple mourns, but the routines continue the next morning. They always do. For a long time, that reality feels cruel. How can the world continue normally after losing someone who who shaped your entire life. But eventually, you understand something important. The routines continuing are not disrespect. They are survival. The morning bell still rings because the temple must outlive every individual person inside it. Even the masters, especially the masters. Chapter 5. The Master. Now they bow to you. The chamber that once belonged to your teacher becomes yours. Hundreds of monks wait for your guidance every sunrise. Villagers seek protection from your temple. Children watch your movements with fear and admiration. You spent your entire life trying to become strong enough for this moment, and now that it arrives, it feels strangely lonely. The higher your position becomes, the fewer honest conversations you have. The younger monks respect you too much to speak casually around you. The warriors wait for instruction instead of sharing uncertainty. Villagers look at you like you already possess every answer, but leadership rarely feels certain from the inside. Most days you are simply making the best decisions you can with incomplete information and hoping the consequences do not harm the people depending on you. You finally understand why the old master spent so much time alone. Solitude was not preference. It was the cost of carrying responsibility for an entire community. You lead ceremonies, teach orphan children, resolve conflicts, maintain peace inside walls that existed long before your birth. The problems never stop. The suffering never stops. But neither does the discipline. Over time, you begin recognizing yourself in the younger monks, especially one frightened orphan child who reminds you painfully of the person you once were. You see the same fear, the same stubbornness, the same hunger for belonging. And for the first time, you understand the old master completely. He was never protecting only the temple. He was protecting the people inside it. Years pass. Your role slowly changes from warrior to symbol. The younger monks imitate your posture. Your calm becomes more important than your strength. The temple no longer depends on you to fight. It depends on you to remain steady. You begin noticing how emotion spreads through the temple. If you panic, the monks panic. If you lose patience, discipline weakens. If you remain calm during hardship, everyone else believes the situation can survive. So you learn to carry exhaustion privately, pain privately, fear privately. That becomes part of being master too. The temple watches you constantly, even when nobody appears to be looking. Then one winter morning, another orphan child arrives at the temple gates. Small, frightened, frozen, exactly like you once were. You open the gates without saying much, because some lessons cannot be explained. They can only be lived. Chapter 6. The Grand Master. Age arrives quietly. Your knees ache during winter mornings. Your hands tremble slightly around the old wooden staff. Younger masters now lead most training sessions while you watch from distant balconies above the courtyard. The temple continues moving without needing your constant presence, and strangely, that brings peace instead of sadness. You spend more time alone now. Empty corridors, candlelit chambers, snow falling outside ancient windows. The sounds of younger generations echoing through halls you once crossed at full speed. Your body weakens, but your understanding deepens. The strange thing about aging is how quickly your mind forgets the body is no longer young. You still wake before sunrise, automatically. Still expect your legs to move the way they once did. Still instinctively scan every courtyard and corridor like a warrior preparing for danger. But time changes everyone, eventually. Even the people who spent their entire lives trying to master themselves. The younger monks help you more now, quietly, respectfully, pretending not to notice when your hands shake during winter mornings. You appreciate the kindness, even when it wounds your pride. Because deep down, you remember helping the old master in exactly the same way, and suddenly the years between those memories no longer feel very large at all. You begin seeing the temple differently, not as a place of warriors, but as a cycle. Children become trainees, trainees become warriors, warriors become masters, masters become memories. At some point, you stop thinking about legacy in terms of reputation. The awards do not matter. The victories do not matter. Even the battles slowly fade. What remains are the people. The frightened child you encouraged to stay. The angry warrior you taught restraint, the hungry villagers your temple protected during winter, the young monk who now teaches students using lessons you once taught him. That is the real continuation of a life, not monuments, not titles, people. And still the bell rings every morning. Still the snow falls across the courtyard. Still another frightened child arrives at the gates, believing he is alone in the world. The temple outlives everyone, including you. And somehow, that is exactly what makes all the suffering meaningful. Because the temple was never truly about perfection. It was about continuation. One generation carrying the next through hardship long enough for them to become strong themselves. The snow falls, the bell rings, the gates open. And somewhere inside the courtyard, another frightened child begins the same journey all over again.